Welcome to the Darkstream. VoxDay, voxday.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic News. You know, I spent several months doing my best to ignore the blatant idiocy of the people that I called the alt-right. The reason is that if you study the history of insurgency, revolution, societal change, what you find out are the most successful revolutions, the most successful societal changes, whether it is, something that is done at the ballot box or using politics by other means, the successful changes tend to come as a result of a productive alliance between the moderates and the extremists. That's why I have said on many occasions, cherish your extremists. They are the frontline troops. They are willing to push the Overton window, etc., 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 right? But, the first sign I had, the first indication that I had that maybe that analysis didn't apply to the alt-right was when I did a brainstorm, which is when I, about 100 of my closest followers and supporters, we get together once a month or so. And then sometimes I have an open one and I have guests. And so I had Richard Spencer on and had a chance to talk to him in considerable detail. This was not long after I first published the 16 Points of the Alt-Right. And what was fascinating and what was really surprising, not just to me, but to all of the people there, was that Richard was not only not an extremist, but in most of his positions, he was actually considerably more moderate than everybody there. Everybody there. And so, it was really fascinating. I mean, we're not talking about on, a single issue. We're talking across the board. Richard was to the left of everybody. I don't think that there was a single point, a single issue where he was to the right of the general, the general average, the consensus. And so what was interesting, so that was my first clue, my first sign. But I didn't really think about it. And, then you've had a lot of this various discussion between, between Cernovich and Spencer, and then, with Jack Posobiec and Paul Joseph Watson and all that sort of thing. And so what was interesting about it was that, each time I would hear people talking about, don't punch right, don't punch right. But what was interesting was that when I kept looking at seeing what people were talking about, I kept learning more and more things, like, for example, the fact that Richard Spencer opposed Brexit and that he supported the European Union. This is not a right-wing position. This is not a nationalist position. This is something, that is a left-wing globalist position. And so, that was another sign. That was another sign. Now, I put it down to the fact that a lot of Americans don't understand the European nations at all. Americans don't understand that there's no such thing as just, white. And so, anyhow, the more that and then I kept, you kept learning more. Mike Enoch had it in for me for a long time, which is fine. I don't care. But then the whole thing came out with his, Jewish wife and all this sort of thing. And the more that I hear these guys talk about, the more I realize they are not right-wing. They're not right-wing at all. And so the interesting thing is that, and again, just so you understand, I don't have anything personally against any of these people. I've never actually met any of these people. Richard was absolutely pleasant when he was on the Brainstorm, But I am, as you may know, most of these guys, they don't know any philosophy. They don't know any economics. They don't know much about culture. They don't know much about history. About the only history that they've read up is about World War II. And so, but what really finally made it clear to me, I was invited by a couple people to the Unite the Right thing, and I was generally supportive of it, generally, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't look into it. I knew that Pax was there. I like Pax. I knew Richard was there. Fine, great. And so, but the thing is that these guys are vastly intellectually overmatched by the alt-right guys. Vastly. I have no idea what Enoch said about me. Like I said, I literally pay no attention to the guy. And so, one thing you have to understand, just so you understand, I understand it's very customary for people to posture and claim they don't care and that sort of thing. And then as soon as they're not in public, they're, whispering about who said what to who and that sort of thing. First of all, I don't have the time for that. We're publishing 5 books this month, and I'm trying to get SJW's Always Double Down done. But more importantly, I was a nationally syndicated columnist, and I was writing columns for WorldNet Daily. In 2001, I was actually the special target of the Council on American Islamic Relations, and was getting, all kinds of death threats, hundreds of emails, and all this sort of thing. That was back in 2001, when I was really just getting started in political commentary. So, having somebody going on about how they dislike me and how I'm this, that, or the other thing, honestly, it doesn't even register. Once you've been through stuff like that, a little criticism here and there, it's not a big deal. So, understand, I'm not reacting to anything that anybody said about me. It doesn't matter. But what I'm reacting to is the realization that the entire line about not punching right does not apply to these guys. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. The alt-right is actually more right-wing than the alt-right. The alt-right is actually more right-wing than quite a bit of the alt-white. All right? You look at this guy Kessler. Kessler was an Obama voter very recently. Kessler was involved in Occupy, that whole, whatever, Occupy. the maps were wrong. These guys are fake right. The only aspect in which they are right-wing at all is that they claim to be racial nationalists. They claim to be ethno-nationalists. And yet, we know from Spencer that they do not even support the European nations. They are not even nationalists. Okay? So, they're not right-wing when it comes to economics. They're not right-wing when it comes to culture. They're not right-wing when it comes to any political ideology. You know, they are basically Johnny one-note anti-Semites. Now, if they are, I mean, and here's the thing: racism is not a right-wing position. There are certainly right-wing racists. There are certainly left-wing racists. It is not right or left. And so, I'm not just disavowing. I am telling you. I'm not just disavowing. I am telling you they are frauds. I am telling you they are fake right. I am telling you that they are not right-wing in any way, shape, or form. They don't get to call themselves alt-right. You know why? You know what the alt-right in their sense means? It means not right. It means fake right. Okay? That's what you have to understand. I am talking about all of the Nazis. I'm talking about the Richard Spencers. I'm talking about this Kessler guy. I don't know about the right stuff guys. You know, I honestly, I mean, you could certainly say that I've been slow to this. You can certainly say that because I don't pay any attention to these guys. And so, no, economics are not, I mean, you say, okay, let's return to economics because that's the most, do you understand the link between economics and the invasion of the West? There is a link. You cannot simply say economics is irrelevant. Do you know what the true name of economics is? The true name of economics is political economy. So to sit there and say, economics and whatever. Okay, first of all, if you're going to talk to me like that, you might as well just go away. Okay? I literally wrote the book on rhetoric, and retarded rhetoric is not going to make any impact on me or any of the intelligent people who follow me, which is most of my followers. Okay? And so, you know, here's how we destroy them entirely. We keep hammering the fact that they're socialists. Every single time they pop up, we hammer them with socialism. Now, of course, I've already seen what their response is. Their response is, well, Hitler defined socialism differently than Marx's socialism. Well, yes, he did. Certainly, National Socialism is different than Marxian International Socialism. Of course, so too is Lenin's National Socialism, or National Communism, as it was generally called. You remember socialism in one country? Still socialism, still left wing. I did an analysis. You have to understand. Here's the other thing too. It was kind of funny. People have. Fabian socialism is named after the Roman general Fabius because the idea was that they would very slowly take over the entire economy. So, anyhow, Sweden is a socialist country. And we've seen that's not protecting them from invasion. You know. But here's the interesting thing, though, is that, you know, some people have said, oh, you know, you're just punching right and disavowing Nazis. Well, first of all, I am not punching right. I am far to the right of them. I am very far to the right of them. Secondly, I have always completely rejected National Socialism, or as I prefer to call it, you know, Teutonic supremacist imperialism. I did another Darkstream talking about how white nationalism and Nazism is absolutely incompatible. The Nazis killed more white people than just about anyone other than the Bolsheviks. So, the point is that, like I said, they're going to try to get around. They're going to try to claim that, oh, it's a different socialism. Well, again, that doesn't matter. Saint-Sauveurs' socialism is the original socialism. Bakunin's socialism is different than Marxianism. There is a difference. I mean, a lot of you probably don't even realize that there is a difference between Marxist socialism and Marxian socialism. All right? National Socialism is just another variant of socialism. It is just another form of left-wing politics. There is nothing right-wing about it at all. Now, I did an analysis back, I think, in 2004, and I actually compared the National Socialist Munich Manifesto in 1921, and I compared it to the Democratic platforms and to the Republican platforms and the Libertarian platforms. And what was interesting was that the National Socialist program was actually very similar to the Democratic program, but it was actually slightly to the left of the Democrats. So what you have to understand is that the alt-right, the Nazi cosplayers, the fake right, as I will henceforth call them, the fake right is actually to the left of the 2004 Democratic platform. They are to the left of the Democrats of that era, which of course the Democrats have moved left. It's not on my blog, it's on WorldNet Daily, and I think you can find it on, you can find it on VoxDay. No, VoxDay. We don't have that up yet. Look for it on WorldNet Daily. So I'll see if I can dig it up. It may actually be. It's actually probably in one of my books, one of my column collections. So I'll see what I can. I'll see what I can do there. But you know, this is. Jonah Goldberg's Liberal Fascism does address this. You know, another thing is, you know, you talk about fascism. A lot of people don't realize that Mussolini was not only a socialist, he was the secretary of the Italian Socialist Party. I personally translated the manifesto of the fascist struggle from Italian, and it is very, very left. It is absolutely left. And so, no, Christianity is not incompatible with racism. Not at all. So that would not work. So anyhow, the thing that is that, first of all, go ahead and I'm not going Dinesh D'Souza. If you think I'm going Dinesh D'Souza, you haven't understood the first thing about anything that I've just said. What I'm saying is that the Nazi cosplayers are fake right. They are not right-wing. There is nothing right-wing about them at all. Punch away, because you're not punching right. You are punching left. You are actually punching to the left of the alt-right. These guys are frauds. These guys are fakes. And so there's absolutely no reason. They are not to be taken seriously in any way, shape, or form. I will debate any of them. Online, live, whenever they want. Got it? Let the Daily Show guys know. Let the Daily Show guys know that. Let Mike Enoch know it. Let Richard Spencer know it. Let Greg Johnson know it. Let all those guys know it. I will debate any of them anytime they like online, and see how many of them are willing to do that. See how many of them are willing to show up live in front of everybody and go toe-to-toe with me on this. How many of them do you think are going to take me up on that? No, I'm not going to go on to their show. We are going to do, if I'm going to debate with someone, we are going to debate publicly in somewhere where everyone can watch. No percentage in it. This is something. What we would debate? We will debate whether they belong in the alt-right, whether they are even right-wing. You know me. I will be prepared. Here's the thing. If I can beat a professor of economics with a PhD in economics from the University of Chicago, the big school of monetarism, who also has a JD from Stanford, and I can beat him on free trade, do you really think I can't come up with some arguments that will be convincing, talking about these guys being in the fake right? So anyhow, just I'm telling you this, and I'm willing to put it on the line. I'm willing to back up everything that I say. I'm not virtue signaling. I have absolutely no need or desire. Why am I doing this? Because I am interested in the truth. I am interested in what is actually true. Okay? We have to drop the alt-right because they are not right-wing at all. They are fake right. If you want to see what I consider to be alt-right, read the 16 points. There are people who speak 27 different languages who agree with those points. Richard Spencer himself said that he agreed with most of the points. The debate on fair trade, look up, it's on Amazon, on the question of free trade, by Dr. James Miller and myself. So here's the thing. If they want, I don't know who not Eli Mosley is. So, anyhow, no, the thing is, all we're doing is we are transforming the alt-right into what it should be. Richard Spencer has never defined it. None of these guys have ever defined it because they don't have the philosophical capability to do so. No, we can't be American traditionalists. Why would we be American? The alt-right is something that has global appeal. I'm still alt-right. Here's what I'm telling you. I am defining the alt-right because These jokers are frauds. They're fake right. They don't even define what they believe. They're not first-class thinkers. They're not second-class thinkers. They're not even third-class thinkers. And so, this, and just so you understand, this is normal. If you read the 16 points of the alt-right is not dead. Come on. I mean, that's like the what I was reading all those alt-right is this, alt-right is this. It's kind of like it's kind of funny. You can tell who went through Gamergate and who didn't. If you've been through Gamergate, you hear people going, "This is dead, and you just laugh. We used to joke about, gamers are dead. In fact, it was funny. The first time somebody started saying the alt-right was dead, the very first thing somebody said to me was it was a Gamergater who just laughed and said, "Hey, gamers are dead again." Yeah, and here's the thing. I didn't say alt-right is fake right. I said the alt-right is fake right. Jared Taylor is genuine alt-right. I am genuine alt-right. All the Nazis are frauds. They're fake right. The alt-right is inevitable because conservatism is dead. Ideology is being replaced by identity politics. I haven't read enough England to really know. I'm not interested in leadership. Well, what is this pandering to the Jews? Who said anything about the Jews? What is with your bizarre focus on the Jews? What did Kessler say that made him fake right? He voted for Obama. He's an Occupy guy. But you say right is right, enough splinter. You cannot splinter this. You cannot splinter this. Because people of the left are not of the right. They are socialists. So, it's true. You can't split what is already divided. And so, no, we're not talking about that right now. Just shut the fuck up. Good Lord. And so, I don't care how appealing the alt-right is to Gen Z. They're not going to support them. 85% of the young men voted for Trump. They're not going to follow them left. And so, but they're not, these guys are not even nationalists. Richard Spencer is trying to erase the European nations. That's not a nationalist. You know who's a nationalist? Indians, American Indians. We're real nationalists. We believe in our ethno-states, our sovereign nations. We don't believe in lumping them all into one big American Indian thing. Now one of the problems here, I'm going to just mention one more thing and then we'll wrap it up. One more thing that we need to note is that there's a lot of people in the alt-right, the genuine alt-right, who don't think big enough. They think that the alt-right is only about white nationalism. But it's not. Because globalism threatens everyone. Globalism threatens Japan. I have read articles by a Jewish woman living in New York claiming that Japan is weakened by its lack of diversity. So what does that mean? That means that the globalists threaten Japan. That means that the alt-right is of appeal to the Japanese. Yes, the term is salvageable. Just stop worrying about all the branding bullshit. Globalism is the enemy, and anything that feeds globalism is the enemy. Civic nationalism is the problem. Is civic nationalism is basically Fabian globalism. So anyhow, no, I don't take anyone seriously who thinks Nazis are right-wing. The only people who think Nazis are right-wing are communists. So if the point is that the alt-right has global appeal to everyone. It has appeal to the Scots. It has appeal to the English. It has appeal to the Americans. It has appeal to the Vietnamese. It has appeal to the Koreans. All right? So to say that the alt-right is only white nationalism is false. It's absolutely wrong. And so now that's something that people need to understand. It is bigger than they grasp. Other people have identity besides whites. They have the right to that identity. That's why it's of so much appeal. There is think about it. You'd say I'm wrong about that. That's stupid. You think genuinely that Russians are not threatened by globalism? Russians are every bit as threatened by globalism as Americans are. In fact, I would point out that Russians and the Russian leadership are vastly more aware of the threat that globalism poses to them than Americans do. And so that's why, as an American Indian with a reservation and a sovereign nation, I support American nationalism. I support European nationalism. I support Asian nationalism. What I don't support is imperialism. That's where the nationalists, the historical nationalists, got in trouble. And so, anyhow, I hope this was illuminating. I don't know enough about Identity Europa and Nathan D'Amigo to have an opinion. Even African nationalism can be alt-right in Africa. In fact, African nationalism is a very, very messy subject because the African tribes are not contiguous with what we think of as, basically, the African countries are not nations. So it's a very different thing, which is, of course, is why there's all these wars inside these boundaries that were imposed upon them externally. So, anyhow, thanks for tuning in. I hope this was illuminating, and it should be interesting to watch the fake right sprig out and panic and so forth. So please go ahead and use any of those terms. I don't worry about it. So have a good evening.